What is up, nerds? Me, your buddy pal, HeyArcher. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I didn't turn the YouTube lights on. There we go. YouTube lights are on. Normally, this is the part where I say, you're here for a 2-minute review just for you on, I almost said The Bad Batch. No, it is The Bad Batch. I almost said Clone Wars. A 2-minute review just for you on The Bad Batch. But today we're gonna do something a little different. Right now we are 3 episodes behind on the reviews. I feel like I need to do a different kind of review. So this will go into 2-minute review playlists and the Bad Batch playlist and all that. But I want to kind of do a little hybrid. I want to do a little bit more of a nerdy coffee type of review. And in those reviews, we kind of like have more of a dialogue going on about the episodes. I don't really break down like scene by scene like other people do. But what I do want to do is cover a couple key things that occurred. I do want to talk about what I think is going to happen. But most importantly, I think I want to talk about why you may not be enjoying The Bad Batch. The real tough question. Okay, so The Bad Batch. I am currently enjoying The Bad Batch. I will say that. There's no hesitation there. But there are a couple reasons why you may not be enjoying The Bad Batch. Reason number 1, of course, you didn't watch the Clone Wars. If you didn't watch the Clone Wars, after episode 1 of this show, they really started to kind of do callbacks to the Clone Wars. So we start off episode 2 with the Bad Batch going to see a friend, somebody that has been in hiding for a long time. And if you've not watched Clone Wars, as they introduce this character, you're kind of like, I don't know who this is and what's going on. So they're actually going to see a clone who defected. And he's actually one of 2 clones that we saw in the Clone Wars that defected. And this is actually going to be Cut and his wife, Sue. Sue is not a clone, but Cut is a clone. But Cut and Sue live on this world. They live with their 2 kids, and we end up finding them originally in season 2 of Clone Wars, episode 10. And Rex is there on a mission with the 501st. Jesse's also there. They end up running into this family. Rex is hurt. They leave Rex while they go off to do the rest of the mission. And then that's when Cut shows up and Rex points out that you are a clone. What are you doing here? You defected. So you have that intro of Cut, but you don't see him in the rest of Clone Wars at all. So when the Bad Batch establishes that they know Cut, that was kind of news to everybody. Bad Batch did not reference him at all in the last season of Clone Wars. So don't feel like you missed out something there. They end up meeting Cut, meeting his family. And, you know, they're essentially like, hey, we need to get off world. The Empire's coming down on us. Things are getting crazy. And as a fan of Star Wars, I feel like that's something that we all kind of wanted to see. But I don't think as a casual fan, that part of it is something that appeals to you. So if you're kind of a casual fan, there's nothing wrong with that. But I think as they get into more of the Empire starting to take over, the Republic's falling, it gets really political with like, now you got to exchange your credits for like ID and all this stuff. I think a lot of that stuff may fall through the cracks. And unless you were watching the Clone Wars and you were seeing all the political jargon happening there, this show may start to lose you at a certain point. So reason number 1, as I mentioned at the top, you didn't watch Clone Wars, so this may be a little bit hard to follow. So going into episode 3, we will point out reason number 2 why you may not be enjoying The Bad Batch. And that's that there's not a whole lot of shoot 'em up action at all ends, at all corners. Now, if you did watch the final season of Clone Wars to introduce yourself to The Bad Batch, it was straight up action, all 4 episodes. I felt like it was a little bit too much, but it was 4 episodes of action. Episode 1, you get some action. They're trying to figure out what's going on. there's the Order 66 happens, there's them escaping, there's them versus Crosshair. So there's a lot of action there. But 2, 3, and 4 are a little bit more on the dialogue side, more on the Clone Wars side, right? Going back to point number 1. But point number 2 is Clone Wars did a lot of character development, a lot of world building. And if you came into this thinking every episode was just going to be loaded with action, you don't get that. Episode 3, we have Crosshair full on. He's, he knows that he has to go after the Bad Batch, and they give him his own group. They give him some elite troopers, and this is actually our introduction into non-clone soldiers in the Empire. So if you're not big into the lore of Star Wars, that doesn't mean a lot to you. But if you are big into the lore of Star Wars, that's a big deal, because we always wondered, why didn't they have clones throughout the whole series? But we did hear them say that, it's cheaper to have humans and people recruited versus making clones, which we then thought, after hearing that, okay, so the Jango Fett DNA getting ruined isn't a thing. But then they bring us back and say, no, it is. That is happening as well. So the Jango Fett DNA, the original sample to make the clones, is deteriorating, but also it's cheaper to recruit versus make clones. So in episode 3, Crosshair gets his first group of humans, and they go to find Saul Guerrero to finish the mission the Bad Batch did not do. Saul's gone. And then we get that gut check. Get that punch to the gut where Dave Filoni reminds you, it may be a cartoon, but there are a lot of adult tones here. And they actually murder civilians. They actually massacre civilians. It's wild. It happens off camera, but in the scene. The camera's turned away. They do it. Wild. And I loved it. I love the fact that they're showing you that dark side of this new empire. And it also shows you how Order 66 was more than just kill Jedi. Order 66 was more of a savage type of switch to turn off. There's no remorse. It's like, we're just doing the job. But you also then see how humans acting as soldiers who think they're being good soldiers follow orders. You're seeing them kind of second guess, ooh, this might be a little bit different than what we signed up for. But we also get another little development, and Wrecker actually injures himself, right? The ship crash lands on a planet, and he ends up whacking his head, and he complains about a headache. And the headache is actually happening on the same side of the head as the inhibitor chip. Now, that's led a lot of us to believe Wrecker will eventually turn on the group. So then you'll have Crosshair and Wrecker versus the group. And I've seen other people talk about it, and I completely agree. I think at a certain point, as the Empire takes over, as the show continues down this dark path, because you have to remember, this isn't really supposed to be a happy ending. None of what happens between here and not until you get to Return of the Jedi is there supposed to be happy endings here. So at a certain point, a lot of people think about this. I think the same. Wrecker will turn on them. Crosshair's already turned on them. Maybe they even get killed. But I think you're going to see the Bad Batch, as the show goes on, start to lean down and not be that big group. We also get another little nugget there, and that's the fact that Omega, right? We know Omega's one of the clones. That part we already know. But she's a little bit different. And a lot of us are starting to think that she has force sensitivity. And that's something that could lead down the road to them even alluding to Starkiller, right? Maybe if you remember the Force Unleashed, Starkiller was a Jedi clone, but he had force powers, and that never existed. So maybe on Kamino, they're able to figure out how to clone force-sensitive people. This also may be how they, in turn, try to justify that Palpatine was a true clone and that Snoke was a clone, because originally it was always, hey, clones, you can't clone somebody with force powers. But if they figure that out and they start showing that they're figuring that out, that explains the sequels. That also explains Baby Yoda. The second reason, as a recap there's not a lot of action. It's a lot of world building. It's a lot of dialogue, and that may be causing you to lose interest. But trust me, it does pan out. I mean, I haven't seen the other episodes, but I'm assuming it will pan out. If Clone Wars panned out the way it did, this has to pan out in a great way. I feel it. Feel it in the air. Reason number 3 why you may not like The Bad Batch. And this one, I feel like if you went through the first 2 and said, no, Archer, those don't apply to me. I liked Clone Wars and I like the world building. I think reason number 3 you may not be liking The Bad Batch is it's one show in Clone Wars style with Clone Wars style visuals, action, and storytelling, but it solely follows one group through the whole thing. And if you watch Clone Wars, you had the storyline with Ahsoka. You had storyline with Ahsoka and Anakin. You had a storyline with Anakin and Kenobi. Darth Maul and his brother, Asajj. Like, you had all these other storylines. Rex and the clones. You had these storylines that were built within the show that kind of broke it up. So you weren't watching the same group every single time. And I feel like with The Bad Batch, being that it's just a Bad Batch, and being that it's 16 episodes, it may start to drag at a certain point because it's not breaking it up. It's just the same group. I think that might be a big reason why some of you may be kind of like losing interest in the show. But alas, this episode does tie in The Mandalorian. We do have the entrance of Fennec Shand. I'm sure I'm saying her name wrong. She's the bounty hunter. She's there to find Omega. This is the first time that I think I had an issue with the show, right? The 3 things I mentioned, they don't bother me at all. But this is the first time that I found an issue with the show. Because as I was watching episode 4, I felt like I was watching The Mandalorian. Which you may say, why is that an issue? Why would that be a problem? The problem is I've already seen The Mandalorian. And if you think back to the issues that a lot of us had with the sequel trilogy, it's that you saw the original trilogy. Why are you redoing the original trilogy and just putting a different coat of paint on it? It's the same car. I felt like episode 4, it gave me heavy Mando vibes because we have the kid that has some powers potentially that we don't know about, trying to keep safe. And then all of a sudden you have the bounty hunter enter. But it so happens that bounty hunter is somebody that we met in the other show about somebody keeping a kid safe who may have powers. So while I enjoyed the episode as a whole with the action that it had, I did feel like this was a bit of a letdown in originality. And that may be a stretch. I may be stretching here. But again, it's 16 episodes. If we're not breaking up characters and story plot lines, which may happen, I don't know. But if we're not breaking that stuff up, that's where this may start to drag. You may start to lose interest. But overall, first 4 episodes in, I am enjoying the show. I'm still all in on the show. But I do see where it is that some people may lose the show, or the show loses them, I should say. So if that happens to you, it's all right. If you want to wait until the end and then kind of go back, that's up to you. But be warned that if you are a Star Wars fan, spoilers will drop without you even knowing it. I'm telling you, it's probably going to happen. On the prediction side, we of course have the Bad Batch does break up. Fine. Omega is force sensitive. That's my other prediction there. This takes place in between episode 3 and Rogue One. I do think we're going to have more cameos of the Rogue One group. And I also think we're going to have cameos of the Rebels group. So them running into Kanan, because he was in the first episode. Them running into him again as a kid. I don't doubt that happens. I hope it doesn't. I hope that's one of the ones that doesn't happen. But I wouldn't be surprised if you get some run-ins there. I do hope Ahsoka shows up. They've already said Rex, they've said his name, so he will be there, sure. But I do think the Bad Batch, at a certain point, all gets wiped out. Dead. So, sorry. But I do like how the memes are coming out now about how Hunter looks like Rambo. I thought it was pretty obvious in the first time he came out, but whatever, it's still pretty funny. Again, I'm liking the show. I actually got some figures in that I'll unbox at some other point. But I can see where people are getting lost. I can see where it's starting to lose people. And if I could say anything, if you're not going to listen to me when I say to watch the Clone Wars, I will say, hold on. I would sing the song, but I would sing it so well, I know that I'd get hit with a copyright strike. By the way, there's not going to be any Baby Yoda in the show. So either way, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Who's your favorite member of the Bad Batch? Are you collecting the figures? Do you like this more than Clone Wars? Thanks for being here. 2-minute reviews will be coming down the pipe. Unboxing videos. HeyArcher Live every Thursday at 8 p.m. head over to Nerd Affiliated on YouTube. That's the vlog series. We're doing a lot of toy hunting over there, so if that's of interest, make sure to check that out. Either way, I'll talk to all you nerds in the next video.